Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So welcome back to this session in which we are going to spend some more time with each other and have more interactions with each other. We'll take some more questions from the Bhagavad-gita. We'll also try to recite some verses from Bhagavad-gita. And we'll also be interested in studying some verses from Bhagavad-gita. Unlike the Sunday's session, this session is a little bit more casual, more informal, because there's no structured plan for this, because it depends how many questions devotees are asking, people are asking. So this is a session where you can look forward to have more interaction with the Gita course teachers and the Gita course team, etc. If you can hear me clearly and if you can see me properly, can you please raise your hands to confirm? Okay. Let's please lower your hands. That's sufficient. Is my voice clearly audible? Some people are saying to please increase the volume. If my voice is audible, I hope you are able to hear me. Okay, I see thumbs up signs. Thank you very much. Let's start today's session with the Mangala charan, the auspicious invocation of the mercy of the various teachers and the spiritual masters in our life. After the Mangala charan, we will recite the first chapter of the Bhagavad-gita today. And all of you can try to recite along with it. And then we'll read some of the verses, and then we'll quickly go towards the questions, which all of you have very nicely asked even before the session has begun. And we have tried to filter it, out and see which questions to cover publicly and which questions to answer privately. And we have also tried to take questions which are as diverse as possible, so that most of the unasked questions will also get answered today. So let's begin today's session with the Mangala charan. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langhayate Girim Yatripa Tamaham Mande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Harihi Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So we're very happy to be amongst all of you today. Please lower your hands. Unless specifically asked, please don't raise your hands. And unless specifically asked, please don't turn on your videos also. Okay, so I would now like to invite one of my previous year's Gita course student. Her name is Dakshayani G. She is a resident of Bangalore. I will just add her to the spotlight. Here she is, and she's going to. She is quite a very good example for all of us here. How students, not only after graduating, but even before graduating from this Gita course, they pick up the Bhagavad-gita so nicely. As a teacher, I'm very proud to invite her to lead the Bhagavad-gita recitation for all the new students who have joined today. Over to you, Dakshayani Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me, Prabhuji?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandvat Pranam. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. All glories to assembled devotees here. Recitation of chapter 1 from Bhagavad-gita as it is. Translations by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Mataji, are you going to share your screen?
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see, Prabhuji?
Yes, I can see the screen properly.
अतः श्रीमद् भगवद्गीता प्रथमोऽध्यायः धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामका पाण्डवश्चैव किम् अकुर्वत संजय संजय उवाच दृष्ट्वा तु पाण्डवानीकं व्यूढं दुर्योधनस्तदा आचार्यम् उपसंगम्य राजा वचनम् अब्रवीत् पश्चैतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम् आचार्या महतिं चमून् व्यूढं द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येन धीमताम् अत्र शूरा महेश्वासा भीमार्जुना समायुधि युयुधानो विराटश्च द्रुपदश्च महारथः दृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् पुरुजित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैब्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्त उत्तमौजश्च वीर्यवान् सौभद्रो द्रौपदेयश्च सर्व एव महारथः अस्माकं तु विशिष्टा तान् निबोध द्विजोत्तमा नायका मम सैन्यस्य संज्ञार्थं तान् ब्रवीमि ते भवान् भीष्मश्च कर्णश्च कृपाश्च समितिं जयः अश्वत्थामा विकर्णश्च सौमदत्तिस्तथैव च अन्ये च बहवः शूरा मदर्थे त्यक्तजीवितः नानाशस्त्रप्रहारानः सर्वे युद्धविशारदः अपर्याप्तं तद् अस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं पर्याप्तं त्व इदम् एतेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम् अयनेषु च सर्वेषु यथा भागम् अवस्थितः भीष्मम् एवाभिरक्षन्तु भवन्तः सर्व एव हि तस्य संजनयान् हर्षं कुरु वृद्ध पितामहः सिंहनादं विनाद्योच्चः शङ्खं दद्माहु प्रतापवान् ततः शङ्खश्च भीर्यश्च पनवानकगोमुखः सह शैभ्यहन्यन्ता सशब्दस्तु मुलोऽभवत् तथा श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महती शान्दने शितौ माधवा पाण्डवश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदद्मतौ पतौ पाञ्चजन्यं ऋषिकेशो देवदत्तं धनञ्जयः पौण्ड्रं दद्माउ महाशङ्खं भीमकर्मविकोदरः अनन्तविजयं राजा कुन्तिपुत्रो युधिष्ठिरः नकुल सहदेवश्च सुघोषमणिपुष्पकौ काश्चश्च परमेश्वासः शिखण्डी च महारथः दृष्ट्यद्युम्नो विराटश्च सत्यकिश्च चापराजितः द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयश्च सर्वाशः पृथ्वीपते सौभद्रश्च महाबाहु शङ्खं दद्मुः पृथक् पृथक् सघोषो धृतराष्ट्राणां हृदयानि व्यदारयत् नभश्च पृथ्वीं चैव तुमुलो ध्यानुनन्दयान् अथ व्यासविस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धृतराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः प्रवृत्ते शास्त्रसम्पते उद्यम पाण्डवः ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् इदम् आह महीपते अर्जुन उवाच सेनायोरुभयोर्मध्ये रथं स्थापय मे अच्युता यावद् एतान् निरीक्षेऽहं योद्धुकामाम् अवस्थितान् कैर्मया सदा योद्धव्यम् अस्मिन् रणसमुद्यमे योत्स्यमानान् अवेक्षेऽहं या एतेऽत्र समागतः धृतराष्ट्रस्य दुर्बुद्धिर्युद्धे प्रियचिकीर्षवः संजय उवाच एवं युक्तो ऋषिकेशो गूढाकेशेन भारत सेनायोरुभयोर्मध्ये स्थापयित्वा रथोत्तमम् भीष्मद्रोणा प्रमुखातः सर्वेषां च महीक्षितम् उवाच पार्थ पाश्चैतान् समवेतान् कुरुन्निति तत्र पश्चात् स्थितन् पार्थः पितॄन् अथा पितामहः आचार्यान् मातुलं भ्रातॄन् पुत्रान् पौत्रान् सखींस्तथा स्वशुरन् सुहृदश्चैव सेनायोरुभयोरपि तन् समीक्षश्च कौन्तेय सर्वान् बन्धून् अवस्थितान् कृपया परया विष्टो विषिदान् इदम् अब्रवीत् अर्जुन उवाच दृष्ट्वे मां स्वजनं कृष्ण युयुत्सुं समुपस्थितं सिदन्ति मम गात्राणि मुखं च परिशुष्यति वेपतुश्च शरीरे मे रोमहर्षश्च जायते गाण्डीवं श्रंशते हस्तत्वक् चैव परिध्यते न च शक्नोमि अवस्थातुं ब्रह्मातिव च मे मनः निमित्तानि च पश्यामि विपरीतानि केशव न च श्रेयोननुपश्यामि हत्वा स्वजनम् आहवे न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण न च राज्यं सुखानि च किं नो राज्येन गोविन्द किं भोगैर्जीवितेन त्वां येषाम् अर्थे काङ्क्षितं नो राज्यं भोगसुखानि च ता इमे वष्टितयुद्धे प्रणांस्तत्यक्त्वा धनानि च आचार्या पितारः पुत्रास्तथैव च पितामहः मातुलः श्वाशुरः पौत्रः शालं सम्बन्धिनस्तथा एतान्न हन्तुम् इच्छामि ज्ञातोऽपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्यराजस्य हेतो किं नु मही कृते निहत्य धृतराष्ट्रान्न कपृते स्यात् जनार्दन पापम् एव स्त्रयात् अस्मान् हत्वैतान् अततायिनः तस्मात् नार्ह वयं हन्तुं धृतराष्ट्रान् सबान्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखिनो श्याम माधव यदि अपे एतेन पश्यन्ति लोभोपहत चेतसः कुलक्षया कृतं दोषां मित्रद्रोहे च पातकाम् कथं न ज्ञेयम् अस्माभिः पापद् अस्मान् निवर्तितुम् कुलक्षया कृतं दोषां प्रपश्यभिर्जनार्दनः जनार्दनां कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्म सनातनः धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृष्णाम् अधर्मो अभिभवति युता अधर्माभिभवत् भवत् कृष्ण प्रद्युष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रिया ऋतु दुस्तासु वर्ष्णेय जायते वर्णशङ्करः शङ्करो नरकायैव कुलज्ञानं कुलस्य च पतन्ति पितरो हे येषां लुप्तपिण्डोदकक्रिया दोषैरेतैरेथ कुलज्ञानां वर्णशङ्करकारकयः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्मः कुलधर्मश्च शाश्वतः उत्सन्न कुलधर्माणां मनुष्याणां जनार्दन नरके नियतां वासो भवति ते अनुशुश्रुमाम् अहो बता महत् पापं कर्तुं व्यवसित वयं यद् राज्यसुखलोभेन हन्तुं स्वजनम् उद्यतः यदि माम् अप्रतीकारम् अश्रास्तं शास्त्रपाणयः धातराष्ट्रे हन्युस्तन्मे क्षेमतरं भवेत् संजय उवाच एवं मुक्तार्जुन संख्ये रतोपस्थ उपाविशत् विसृज्य सशरं चापं शोकसंविघ्नमानसः ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुन संवादे अर्जुन विषाद योगो नाम प्रथमोऽध्यायः। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Thank you Prabhuji.
Can you stop the screen share?
Yes Prabhuji.
Okay, I think we should also read the translations. I will do that. I think after this recitation, you seem to be it's natural to get a little tired. So what I'll do, I'll read the translations. Is that fine, or would you like to do that?
It's fine, Prabhuji. We can go ahead and read.
I will read it?
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. So let me open up. First, I will show you where you can find these. First, I will share my screen. Share the screen. That's the screen. You have to go to a website called vedabase.io, and the language will be English. You can go to Bhagavad-gita as it is, and then you can go to chapter 1, and then you can see all the translations here. So before I begin, yes, chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra desiring to fight, what did they do? Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yuyudhana, Virat, and Drupada. There are also great heroic powerful fighters like Dhrishtaketu, Chekitan, Kashiraj, Purujit, Kuntibhoj, and Shaibya. There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi, all these warriors are great chariot fighters. But for your information, O best of Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are very well equipped with different kinds of weapons and all are experienced in military science. Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. All of you must give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of army. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making the sound like a roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and the horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta. Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Poundra. King Yudhishthir, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijaya. And Nakula and Sahadeva blew Sughosha and Manipushpaka. The great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikhandi, Dhrishtadyumna, Virata, the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, and the sons of Draupadi and others, O king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth, and it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot, bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna these words. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those who present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold Partha, all the Kurus assembled here. Then Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his fathers-in-law and well-wishers. When the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. My whole body is trembling and my hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning. I'm now unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune, O Krishna, killer of Keshi demon. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. O Govinda, of what avail to us our kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them even in the exchange of 3 worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain? O Krishna, the husband of the goddess of fortune, how could we be happy killing our own kinsmen? O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. When irreligion is prominent in family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. An increase in the unwanted population certainly causes hellish life for both the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such correct families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. By the evil deeds of those who destroy family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own kinsmen. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bows and arrows and sat down on the chariot with his mind overwhelmed with grief. So that was the summary, or that was the flow of chapter number 1, where we just read the translations. However, it is not just about the translations. When you go to each and every verse, as you see here, when you click upon a particular text, not only will you get the translations, but you will also get the purport. Purport means explanation given by Srila Prabhupada, which is in line with the previous acharyas, which helps us to understand how this verse is practically relevant in our life and how to understand this, what Krishna meant, what Arjuna actually asked, and all that is being explained to us. You see, every verse has a translation as well as a purport. So it is recommended that devotees should read the purport also. Without reading the purport, certainly 100% your understanding of Bhagavad-gita is incomplete. Only through the purport. Purport means knowledge coming down, just like Arjuna is saying, O Krishna, I have heard in disciplic succession. So similarly, these purports or these explanations, they are coming in disciplic succession. That is why the Bhagavad-gita, which I generally propose everybody to read, is called as Bhagavad-gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada. Why as it is? Because the own concoctions of various authors, the own personal motivated interpretations of various authors is not a part of this Bhagavad-gita. It is Bhagavad-gita as it is. The spirit of the Bhagavad-gita has been retained. There are so many authors who do not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they have the audacity to comment and write statements on Bhagavad-gita. There are so many authors who basically are not devotees of Krishna, although Krishna has said, I was explaining in the last Gita course session, that the 2 qualifications needed to understand Bhagavad-gita are, number 1, one should be a devotee of Krishna, and number 2, one should be non-envious in a friendly disposition with Krishna. Now there are so many less intelligent, unfortunate, useless commentators who do not fulfill this criteria of Bhagavad-gita, who do not follow what is written in Bhagavad-gita, but have the audacity of commenting on Bhagavad-gita and publishing the Bhagavad-gita. Why? Because Bhagavad-gita indeed is the most famous book. And any Tom, Dick and Harry who comments on it will get the claim to fame. So therefore, These purports are what the previous acharyas have commented. And these previous acharyas heard from their previous acharyas, and their previous acharyas heard from their previous acharyas. So ultimately, you can understand that these purports, they help us to understand these verses in such a way in which Arjuna actually understood it from Krishna. The same thing is being reproduced here. So therefore, reading the purport is very necessary. So I was thinking, before getting to the question and answers, let's discuss few of the verses so that our study of Bhagavad-gita also keeps going parallelly, and question and answers keep also going parallelly. In some sessions, there are more questions. In some sessions, there are less questions. So we will adjust our study accordingly. So let's go to the first verse. I will again share my screen so that you can see the verse. So I think the verse number 1.1 was already covered in the Gita course session number 1. O Sanjay, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage desiring to fight, what did they do? So I discussed that the mentality of Dhritarashtra, Mamakaha Pandavas Chaiva. All the Pandavas and Kurus both are in the same family tradition. Essentially, all are Kauravas. But he's calling his sons as the original people who are a part of the heritage or the lineage, and he's separating the sons of Pandu as if they are not a part of the family lineage. So the separatist mentality of Dhritarashtra was shown in this picture. He was afraid that Lord Krishna is on the side of the Pandavas. So he was very afraid. He was also afraid that this battle is happening in a dharma kshetra, Kurukshetra, Samaveta Yutsava. So in this dharma kshetra, there is positive spiritual vibrations. And these positive spiritual vibrations, they are going to positively influence and boost the strength and the morale of the Pandavas. So he was afraid. He knew that his sons were not spiritually inclined or ethical or pious people. So therefore he was afraid that they have gone to fight in a tirtha, Kurukshetra. So what will be the influence? Definitely Pandavas will have an upper hand because of the positive spiritual vibrations. Dharma kshetra, Kurukshetra. We also discussed that here the Pandavas or Lord Krishna is compared to like a farmer, and the Pandavas are compared to the crop, and the Kauravas are compared to the weeds. Until the weeds are pulled out, the crop gets choked. And when the weeds are pulled out by the farmer, the crop gets the entire land to nicely grow and have full scope of development. So here Krishna is pulling out the weeds in the form of the Kauravas to establish the crops of Pandavas on the throne of the planet so that they can rule according to dharma. That was the intention, or that is the message of this verse number 1. I have explained in brief. You can read the purport to understand more. Next verse. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. So, actually, Duryodhana had no expectation that Pandavas will be able to muster such a great army. He was thinking that he will have just a cakewalk by his shrewd diplomacy and politics. He was able to side most of the warriors of the planet towards his side, Duryodhana. If you could divide the entire battle strength of Kurukshetra, then 11 parts of that battle strength was on the side of Kauravas and 7 of it was on the side of the Pandavas. So on paper, Duryodhana was already a winner. However, he was not expecting the Pandavas to have 7 Akshvainis also. So when he saw that, he got amazed. And so therefore, He knew that personalities like Dronacharya and Bhishma, they have a soft corner for the Pandavas. Why? Because the Pandavas were righteous, the Pandavas were correct, they were devotees of Lord Krishna, and Dharma was on their side. So in order to, Duryodhana was an expert diplomat, an expert politician. So he went to Dronacharya and he said, "What, O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada." So there is a history between Drupada and Dronacharya. They were not on very good terms with each other. Drupada failed to fulfill his childhood promise of helping Dronacharya. So Dronacharya, although he was a Brahmana, but he could not give up this. The Brahmanas are generally those who are Brahmanas not just by birth, but by guna and karma. They are expected to have this Brahmanical quality of forgiveness. But he could not forgive Drupada. So therefore, he decided to take a revenge on Drupada for not helping him. And he sent the Pandavas and they captured Drupada. And by that, Dronacharya took away half the property of Drupada, just to show that now I'm equal to you. So after this insult, Drupada had performed a one kind of sacrifice by which he obtained a beautiful daughter whose name was Draupadi, who was with a desire that she should be married to Arjuna. And he also obtained a son called Dhrishtadyumna. And the purpose of his life was to kill Dronacharya. With that desire, he begot these son and daughters. But the Brahmanical quality is that even if your enemy comes to you, and if they want to get something from you, they should be welcomed. And for example, Dronacharya knew that this Drupada, son of Drupada, Dhrishtadyumna, came to him to learn the art of military science. Dronacharya very well knew that in future he is destined to kill me. But that is the quality of a Brahmana. He can never deny giving education, knowledge to someone. So therefore, to incite the anger of Dronacharya, to remind him that, see, the son of Drupada is here. Drupada is the one who insulted you. So to incite anger in the heart of Dronacharya and to make him forget the compassion which he had for Pandavas, very expertly, Duryodhana is weaving his words. That is the meaning of this verse number 2 and 3. Verse number 4. Here in this army, there are many heroic men equal to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yuyudhana, Virat, and Drupada. Sorry. Okay, later. Yeah. So here in this army, there are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. And great fighters like Yuyudhan, Virat, and Drupada. Yes. So he mentions the name of Bhima first and then Arjuna because he's specifically afraid from Bhima. Bhima is known to be very, very enraged in battle with superhuman strength. Bhima had also taken a vow that he will tear apart the thigh of Duryodhana. He had also taken a vow to tear apart the chest of Dushasana. And he had also taken a vow to kill all the sons of Dhritarashtra. And Bhima in many ways was undefeatable in battle. When he was angry, he could turn the fate and face of any battle. And similarly, Arjuna was somebody who was a divine bow archer. He had equaled Lord Shiva in battle and had all the celestial weapons with him. So first he mentions Bhima and Arjuna. And then he also mentions other fighters like Yuyudhana, Virat, and Drupada. And then he also says that there are also great heroic powerful fighters like Dhrishtaketu, Chekitan, Kashiraj, Purujit, Kunti Bhoja, and Shaibya. At this point of time, a question may come that I'm here to study Bhagavad-gita. Why the first chapter of Bhagavad-gita is filled with so much details? Who is fighting, who is blowing the conch shell, and who is on whose side? How does it help me in my spiritual life? That's the question here. The answer is very simple. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. Anything which is in relationship with Krishna, because Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is on the battlefield. And anything which is in relationship with Krishna is very, very important. Had Krishna not been in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, then probably the Bhagavad-gita wouldn't have had these words, or they wouldn't have had these names. Who cares? There have been so many battles fought in the prehistoric times and even maybe in the future. But why these names are very important? Because they are connected to Krishna in some way. Because Krishna was there on the battlefield and these people were there. And because they are connected to Krishna, so therefore they have become important. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. Anything which is in relationship with Krishna, directly or indirectly, is very, very important. That is the principle. That is why the Bhagavad-gita of the first chapter contains all these details. And then Duryodhana is saying there are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. So this means that Duryodhana, as a fighter, he was very, very observant. The two armies have come together and very quickly he has observed what are the strengths of the other side. And therefore he is counting very, very nicely. Here is this person, here is that person. This person is an expert in this field, that person is an expert in this field. So we should prepare accordingly. Like that, he's speaking up. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Now, Duryodhana is not just a blabberer. He's an expert politician and very shrewd personality. He's saying, but for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, he's talking to Dronacharya, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. So a person who's very much into this concept of mine, yours, aham, mameti, this is yours, this is mine, my military force, your military force. That person is in the material concept of life. That means there are no higher goals in the life of that person. He thinks that he is this body, and those who are helping him in this bodily existence of life, they are his friends. And those who give any harm to his body, they are his enemies, etc. So by this usage of terms like my military force, your military force, etc., it becomes very clear that Duryodhana does not have a spiritual outlook in life. He is a complete materialist, and basically he's destined in many ways to be frustrated in this battle. Because anybody who lives in this bodily concept of life, mine, yours, that they end up in frustration actually. And now he starts recounting his strength. He says there are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwatham, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that although Bhishma was the most valiant warrior and the most elderly warrior available on the battlefield, but still why Duryodhana takes the name of Dronacharya first? The answer is because Dronacharya was a Brahmana and Bhishma was a Kshatriya. So according to the Varnashram system, Dronacharya comes before. A Brahmana comes before the Kshatriya. That was one of the reasons. Another reason is he was afraid that Bhishma was his relative, but Dronacharya was basically a part of the state of Hastinapur. In many ways, Bhishma was a member of the Bharata dynasty. He could take decisions, and in many ways, the king also couldn't tell him anything. Dhritarashtra also couldn't tell him anything. That was his absolute authoritative position. However, Dronacharya's position was not like that. He would be forced to hear because he was a member of the state. And Duryodhana was afraid that Bhishma has a soft corner and may not put his full strength in fighting against the Pandavas. But he was, in a very subtle way, telling Dronacharya that I know that you also have a soft corner for Pandavas, but you don't have this option. So therefore, he is laying down the entire responsibility of fighting on the shoulders of Dronacharya, telling that you are the leader here. That's what it appears, at least by this, until this verse now. And he also mentions the names like Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, and Vikarna, the son of Somadatta. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that Dronacharya, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, they're all great chariot fighters. But Vikarna is not a very great fighter. Why did Duryodhan bring in the name of Vikarna here? The answer is Vikarna was not very favorable to the Kauravas. When Draupadi was being disrobed, when her sari was being pulled away by Dushasan, Vikarna, the son of Somadatta, was the only person to oppose this. So Duryodhana, being an expert politician and an expert diplomat, he knew that it may be possible that Vikarna would not be on my side. It may be possible that Vikarna wouldn't be having good feelings. So therefore, he brought in the name of Vikarna along with the great personalities like Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, and Vikarna, just to make him feel good that, see, your name is coming along with such great warriors. And the son of Somadatta called Bhurishrava is also there. And all of you are ever victorious in battle. So basically, by mentioning the name of Vikarna, he was trying to ensure that Vikarna was in his side in the fight with all his strength and enthusiasm and with no hard feelings. So he was just trying to appease Vikarna and ensure that he was in his side, because he would feel a subtle pressure to be named amongst the likes of Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, and Ashwathama. Okay, next verse. I will again share my screen. Now, the text number 9, there are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. The Acharyas comment when this line is there. The Srila Prabhupada and the other previous Acharyas, they comment that this line itself is a signal that the warriors on the side of Duryodhana, they are going to die. And Duryodhana himself is telling that there are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are very well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all of them are experienced in military science. So indirectly, the Acharyas comment, Srila Prabhupada comments, that although they are very experienced in military science and although they are equipped with all kinds of weapons, they are ultimately going to lay down their lives not for the purpose of dharma, but for my sake. That means Duryodhana is not fighting for the purpose of upkeeping or protecting dharma. He's fighting out of a petty cause, personal vendetta. He's just fighting because he's arrogant enough not to give the Pandavas what they actually deserve to have. So for my sake, not for the sake of dharma, for my sake, all these warriors are ready to lay down their lives. That means not only Duryodhana was in illusion, not only Duryodhana was corrupted, but all these warriors who were there on Duryodhana's side, for them, they were ready to lay down their lives for Duryodhana, but they were not ready to take the side of dharma and tell Duryodhana and give good counsel to Duryodhana that what you're doing is wrong. Now, text number 10. Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas is carefully protected by Bhima. If you go into this verse, the Sanskrit of this is very nice. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam Paryaptam tva idam etesham balam bhimabhirakshitam. So this aparyaptam, paryapt means enough. Aparyaptam means not enough. So this aparyaptam can have two meanings. Enough also and not enough also. So Srila Prabhupada comments that one meaning of this verse could be aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam. That our strength is not sufficient. Why? Because it is protected by Bhishma, and Bhishma has his heart in the Pandavas camp. However, paryaptam to idam metesham balam bhima bhirakshitam. But Bhima has no soft corner for anybody. When he starts whirling around his mace and starts killing, it's like a buffet for him. He will just go on killing. So Bhima, because he's fully fixed up in his purpose of the war and has no soft corner for anybody, so therefore their strength is very great. But although we have a greater army, but our strength is aparyaptam. Why? Because Bhishma is there. Because his heart is somewhere else. This is one meaning of this verse. Another meaning of this verse is aparyaptam tadasmak. Another meaning of aparyaptam can be more than enough. So Duryodhana is playing a double meaning. He's making a double meaning statement here. To Dronacharya, when he's speaking, he's telling Dronacharya that, see, Bhishma is not on our side, although he's physically on our side, but emotionally and from his heart, he's on the side of the Pandavas. So therefore, everything is on, and Bhima has no such feelings for us. So therefore, my dear teacher, Dronacharya, everything is in your hands. You please save us. However, the same statement is appearing as a pleasing statement to Bhishma. When Bhishma will hear this, he will interpret the meaning aparyaptam tadasmakam, meaning to say that in the protection of Bhishma, our strength is immeasurable. He is the greatest warrior. He is the most valiant personality, the most elderly, the most experienced, undefeatable. However, that child Bhima, he is not having sufficient strength. He is just angrily whirling around his mace. He is not as experienced as Bhishma. So the same statement has two different meanings for two different people. So you can well understand what kind of a great diplomat and a politician and a shrewd leader Duryodhan was. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam. So in front of Dronacharya, he means something else. But the Bhishma who is overhearing this, he will interpret something else out of it. Till now, he was glorifying Dronacharya. Bhishma would have been feeling that I'm the eldest here. Why is he talking to Dronacharya? So now he has switched the discussion. And even after switching the discussion, still the discussion has two different meanings. That is the verse number 10 of Bhagavad-gita. And verse number 11, that is the last verse for today. I will pause after this. 11 verses are good enough for one session. All of you must now give your full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points at the entrance into the phalanx of the army. Although Bhishma is the most elderly personality and the most invincible in battle, but still, when Duryodhana says that all of you should now support Grandfather Bhishma, his idea is that to say that Bhishma is the most important person here right now. Although he is the greatest hero here, but still he is our grandfather and we have affection for him. And you should protect him from all sides. Otherwise, he might be engaged in fight and the enemy might take advantage from some other side. And that is not good for us. We love Bhishma very much. So therefore, all of you protect him. In one way, indirectly, Duryodhana is also telling that the other heroes, see, he has mentioned only Bhishma, Karna, Ashwathama, Kripacharya, and Vikarna and others. But then the other warriors on the battlefield will be feeling what? We have come from far off lands to fight this battle. And Duryodhana is just talking about some people. What about us? So he's including all of them in the conversation by saying that, see, Bhishma is very important for us. And he can be saved only if all of you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. So in one way, he was honoring Bhishma Dev also, but at the same time, he was making all the other warriors whom he has not named, he was making them feel that his victory and the safety of Bhishma Dev depends on all the others who are there in the battlefield. So in this way, Duryodhana was speaking. And all this is explained very nicely in the purports. I will request all of you to go and read these purports and try to relish it, understand it. That is the meaning and the purport of the first 11 verses of Bhagavad-gita. So that is the meaning and the purport of the first 11 verses of Bhagavad-gita. All of you can go into the depth of the purports and read it. Now we'll shift to the questions and answers. So we have received many, many questions and answers. I requested some of my students to go through those list of questions and eliminate the repetitions, and similar questions were removed, and only diverse questions were taken. And as I said in the beginning of this session, some of the questions were very personal. So we decided to answer them personally. And some of the questions were okay. If they could be answered publicly, then that would help others also. So that is our understanding, and we have chosen few questions. First, we will answer those questions which have come to us via the Google form. And if time permits, after finishing answering all these questions, if time permits, then we will take more questions. And while answering these questions, those people who have asked the question, if they are here in the session, then we will answer that question. If they are not in the session, then we will skip that question, because we want to give more preference to the people who are here in the session and they are asking the questions live. But at the same time, we want to respect those who have taken the trouble of sending us those questions before the session. I hope everybody understands what I just said. Okay, so I will quickly share the presentation with all of you. I've just put it in a presentation format so that all of you can see what is the... So this is the Q&A session of this Gita course, where some of the questions have been taken. Okay, first question is by Tanuja. Tanuja, if you are there right now, can you please raise your hand? Tanuja. Tanuja AN is there. So we will take this question of Tanuja. Which are the particular scriptures and the verse which prescribes the Hare Krishna Mahamantra as Kali Yuga Dharma? The answer is, first it is said in the Kali Santaran Upanishad, Harer Naam Eva Kevalam. No, not this one. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Iti Shoda Shakam Nama Kali Kalmasha Nashanam Natah Parataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. This 16-syllable mantra, it is to be seen that in all the Vedas, there is no other way to curtail, abridge, compress, or remove the evil effects of this age of Kali Yuga, other than the chanting of this 16-syllable mantra. This is said in the Kali Santaran Upanishad. So the first reference for you is right away there. And then in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 12th canto, it is mentioned, Krite Adhyayato Vishnu Tretayam Yajato Makhaihi Dwapare Paricharyayam Kalau Tadhari Kirtana. So in Kali Santaran Upanishad, it was clearly said that to counteract the evil effects of Kali Yuga, one has to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's the first reference. The second reference is in the Bhagavatam in the 12th canto, which says, whatever result was obtained in the age of Satyuga by meditation, and in the age of Treta by performing sacrifices, fire sacrifices, and in the age of Dwapar by worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord in the form of Arch Vigraha, the same result can be obtained or will be obtained in the age of Kali Yuga, Kalau Tad Hari Kirtanat, in the age of Kali Yuga by chanting the holy names of Lord Hari or the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So here are two references for you. I hope your question is answered. We'll go to the next question now. If your question is answered, Tanuja, can you please lower your hand? Yes. Next question. This question is by Reva Maheshwari. Reva Maheshwari, if you're here, can you please raise your hand? Reva Maheshwari. Reva Maheshwari. Okay. If you're not here, you can contact us and we will answer this question personally to you, because we give more preference to the people who have asked the question and who have actually come to this session also to get the answers. Pallavi Maiti, are you here? If you're here, can you please raise your hand? Yes, you're here. So we'll take your question. Your question is, according to Hinduism, if rebirth is possible, then why living beings forget everything of the previous birth? If one can remember what he or she has done in the previous birth, then he or she can rectify his or her karma in the present birth. Good question. Pallavi Maiti. First of all, there is the word Hinduism is not a valid word only. People who used to live on the other side of the river Sindhu were called as Sindhus. And over a period of time, that became Hindus. Hinduism is not Sanatan Dharma, and Sanatan Dharma is not Hinduism. Bhagavad-gita propagates the Sanatan Dharma. Hinduism is all concocted and hodgepodge kind of what we can say the remnants of the Vedic civilization is Hinduism. And this term has been coined by the Britishers. So, strictly speaking, the cycle of birth and death is a concept of the Sanatan Dharma and not the Hinduism. So, your question is, first of all, my request is, it will be better if you don't use this term Hinduism. You may use that in the Vedic civilization. We have heard that there are doctrines of rebirth and like that. So like that, if you talk, it becomes more authentic. Rebirth, if it is possible, if the rebirth is possible, then why the living entity has to forget everything in the previous birth, what they have done? See, in one of the coming sessions, we are going to speak very much in detail about reincarnation. And we will give you various proofs from the various universities who have conducted various kinds of tests and experiments to understand whether this is a fact or not. The summary of that study is that yes, reincarnation is a fact. But your question is that why don't we remember anything? We can save so much time not doing the same mistakes again and again. My question is, I'll ask this question back to Pallavi Maiti. Pallavi Maiti, you may be having some family members right now. If you suddenly remember the trauma which you have gone through in your previous life, if you suddenly remember how your mother was in previous life and how your father was in previous life, and if you start comparing who loves you more, it can be a very conflicting situation. Imagine if you remember how horrible an experience you had at the time of death. You would rather choose to die in the womb of your mother only rather than coming out and living happily. When the suffering is so much, especially death, so there is a purpose why the memory of death is wiped away. There is a purpose why the memory of previous lifetimes is wiped away. The reason is the living entity has a desire to do sense gratification, indriya tripti. The living entity, whether in the body of a human being, man, woman, cat, dog, demigod, whatever, they have a desire to do sense gratification. And in order to do sense gratification, one needs to think that this world is a very happy place. And I am the Lord of everything that I survey here. I am the master, I am the controller. And I can do whatever I want and I can get away with it. Until the living entity is not in this illusion, it will not be able to do sense gratification. Because if the living entity is not in this illusion, then they'll understand that everything belongs to Krishna and everything has to be used in the service of Krishna. But the desire to do sense gratification is still there. So then the living entity will be completely miserable. It wants to enjoy also, but it is not able to enjoy also because it knows the ultimate truth. So therefore, Krishna is very merciful. He sees that despite going through various lifetimes of suffering and chewing the chewed again and again, all of us who are there in this session, everything which we have experienced in this life is not something which we are doing for the first time. We have all done the same activities again and again and again. The Bhagavatam says it is called chewing the chewed again and again. Despite chewing the chewed again and despite going through the cycle of birth and death, despite going through all the trauma of the various kinds of miseries, Adi Daivik, Adhyatmik and Adi Bhautik, despite the material nature beating the pulp out of us, despite being thoroughly tormented and shackled in the chains of the laws of material nature, still out of ignorance, the living entity wants to enjoy this material world. Now, how is it possible? Until unless they are made to forget their previous lifetime. If they will remember their previous lifetime, they'll be miserable. They'll not be able to enjoy also. And they'll not be able to basically give up the desire for material sense gratification also. So therefore, Krishna is very merciful. He says in the 15th chapter, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mattah smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvair ahamev vedyo vedanta kritveda eva chaham. He says, I am seated as the Paramatma in the heart of every living entity. And by me, from me comes knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness. Vedaischa sarvair ahamev vedyo. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta and the knower of the Vedas. This is what Krishna says. So by his influence comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And he knows what remembrance to give to whom. Because at the time of death, someone may have some desires. And they may say, okay, I want another body. I want to enjoy like that. Man proposes, God disposes, material nature executes. Man proposes, God disposes, material nature executes. So material nature gives that living entity, spirit, soul, a particular kind of body so that they can continue their unlimited, absurd story of sense gratification, lifetime after lifetime, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, going on. And Krishna reminds them that, see, in your last life, you had these stinking desires. Now that you have another life based on your karma, these were your desires, please continue. For that purpose, Krishna makes us remember few things and Krishna makes us forget few things. That is his mercy. If he does not do this, neither we will be able to do sense gratification, nor we can surrender to Krishna also. So it is better to forget few things and continue with our sense gratification so that we may ultimately get the beatings of the material nature and realize that this is not our constitutional position. Our constitutional position is to serve Krishna. Pallavi Maiti, if this answers your question, can you please either lower your hand or give a confirmation in some way? Okay, I see Reva Mataji has raised her hand, Reva Maheshwari. So you are here. So your question is, we were with God to start with, why God sent us to the earth? We could have stayed with him forever. Very good question. Yes, we could have stayed with him forever. But we forced God, we forced Krishna to do so. Krishna didn't willingly send him here. Krishna didn't willingly send us here. We forced him. Just like those who are parents, they may realize that sometimes the children make an unlawful or an unethical demand. And the child is completely on the head of the parent that I want this, I want this, I want. The parents are trying to explain, okay, this is not a right thing to ask. This will not help you in your life. Please don't do this. But then the child is not eating, he's crying, making the life tough for a parent. So unwillingly, without any heart, you can say half-heartedly, the parent says, okay, go ahead, do it. I have warned you not to do this, but you are completely adamant. You're not listening to me. Go ahead, do it. But be ready to face the consequences. That is what we did to Krishna. Krishna, the perfect gentleman, we forced him. I don't like your face, Krishna. I hate you. I want to stay away from you. I want to not serve you, but do sense gratification. I want to enjoy separately from you. Krishna was telling, why are you trying to do this? This is not possible for you. You are my part and parcel, and your happiness lies only with me and me with you. But we said, no, we don't want you. So therefore, half-heartedly, unwillingly, Krishna had to, we forced Krishna to send us to the material world, where we will be in illusion to think that we are the Lord's and we can enjoy separately from Krishna. We forced Krishna to do that. However, Krishna is very merciful. Although he has sent us here, he has not left us alone. He is sitting as Paramatma in the heart and taking care of us moment to moment. His love is unconditional. We have forgotten him. We don't care for him. We are doing abominable things. But he's not saying that you have forgotten me, don't love me, don't care for me, so therefore I renounce you. No. In all circumstances, whether in the body of a human being or in the body of a pig or in the body of a demigod, he always accompanies us, waiting for us that when we will think of him, when will we look at him. He has not forgotten us from so many lifetimes, but we have forgotten. Krishna is unconditional and unmotivated in his love. We are not. So therefore, he is following us as Paramatma. More so, he comes down and gives his Bhagavad-gita to us. We have burnt the bridges. We have really broken the connection and come ourselves, forced him to send us here. But he comes just to attract us through his variety of pastimes, to make us understand why are you rotting in this material world. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Read the Bhagavad-gita, associate with the devotees, eat Krishna Prasad, come back home, back to Godhead. I have given you the Bhagavad-gita. I know you don't want to listen, but I have hope that sometime in future you will read. Therefore, I am giving you. I hope Reva Maheshwari Mataji, if this answers your question, can you please either lower your hand or give some kind of confirmation? Reva Mataji, do you have a further question to this? Hare Krishna. Okay. You can unmute yourself in case if you have any question further to this. I see you're not able to lower your hand. Are you facing a technical challenge? Okay. Hand is lowered. Next question. Next question is by Shravani Pokale. Do you have further questions to this? Shravani Pakole. Be on mute, please. Yeah, you are here. Good. So Shravani Pakole Mataji is on mute and she has asked a series of questions actually. We were thinking whether to include this question or not, but then I think we felt it is quite relevant in these present circumstances. So we put it here, although this is a personal question. The question says, I have lost my mother-in-law and my young husband in an exact span of 1 month on the 13th of May due to COVID. We had taken utmost care since the last year, but due to someone's casual behavior, we had to suffer this. My husband was very kind, caring, honest, hardworking, intelligent man, always ready to help others. We were having a happy married life, but due to his sudden death, I'm finding it difficult to accept it. Following are the questions in my mind which are troubling me continuously. First question, why a good person like him suffered? Second, I am in guilt that why I was not able to save him as I had survived from COVID. Number three, I had prayed to Krishna to help him. Now I am angry why he did not come to save him, as my husband was a very good person. Number four, I was under assurance that nothing will happen as Krishna is there with me, but everything turned wrong. Can you please guide me in finding answers to these questions, if possible? Even before I start answering these questions, first I offer my condolences to Shravani Pokale. Possibly none of us can understand what you're going through. So I'm praying for you, and I'm praying for the strength of you and your family. And I offer my condolences and sympathy to you on the difficult situation which life has put you through, or rather putting you through. Please accept my condolences. However, because you have brought this question in the perspective of the Bhagavad-gita, it is my sacred duty to answer you, and answer you quite straightforwardly. Shravani Pokale, Mataji, please look around yourself. Please look at everybody who is sitting in this session. Please look at me. We are all dying moment after moment. Nobody is safe. It is not that we die at a particular point. No, we are all dying. When I say that I am 32 years, 33 years old, I have died 33 years already. Death is sure to come. For few people, it comes now. For few people, it will come after some days. But it is sure to come. That's why we say as sure as death. And all of us in this session are dying. Sorry to say, but you are right now dying. I am right now dying. That is the state of affairs in this material world. Birth, disease, old age, and death are the real problems of life. So human life is meant for doing something to overcome this problem of birth, disease, old age, and death. And what is that? Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vekti tattvataha. One who understands the appearance and the activities of Krishna factually, not emotionally or sentimentally, factually, by reading the Bhagavad-gita, by chanting Hare Krishna, by asking and revealing the mind and being in the association of devotees, you will come to know factually the nature of appearance and the activities of Krishna, how they are divya, transcendental. Then, in that state of consciousness, when one quits the body, they never take birth again in this material world. They go back home, back to Godhead. So human life is meant for that. Let me tell you, if a human being is not able to do this, then his condition is, or that situation where a human being or a spirit soul having attained the human body is not able to attain the purpose of life, that is to go back home, back to Godhead, that situation is more pitiable than a person dying. So therefore, Dehino yasmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati. The second chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says, Dehino yasmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati. As a spirit soul passes from boyhood to youth, from youth to adulthood, from adulthood to old age, similarly, the spirit soul, after death, takes up another body. Dhiras tatrana muhyati. And those who are sober, they are not bewildered to see such a change. Just like I keep changing my clothes, and when this cloth is no longer fit enough to wear, so I give up this piece of cloth and take a new cloth. That is the business of spirit soul. The soul of your mother-in-law and the soul of your husband is eternal. They are there in some state of existence. They might have got another body by now. So one of the arguments which Krishna gives to Arjuna is that you should be happy that your grandfather, Bhishma, Duryodhana, they were all struggling in their old bodies. Now they've got a new body. Or if they were Krishna conscious, if they could remember Krishna at the time of death, they have gone back home, back to Godhead. These were some of the arguments which Krishna gives in the Bhagavad-gita in the 2nd chapter. So the point essentially which I'm trying to make is, this is something which everybody has to go through. Death is sure, death is certain. Dhiras tatra namohyati. The sober are not bewildered by such a change. They use these difficult situations as opportunities to go deeper in their Krishna consciousness. We don't say as sure as old age, we say as sure as death. That means from day one we know that death will separate us. So we have to prepare our consciousness in such a way so that this death does not bewilder us, does not shatter us. That is the purpose of life. And human being means one who is able to do this. Death is the universal reality. All of us in this session are going to die. We are dying at this moment. Simply when we disappear one day, we should not lament so piteously. Rather, we should lament that, yes, by the rising and the setting of the sun, in between, I did not chant the holy names of Krishna. I did not serve the devotees. I didn't read the Bhagavad-gita. That should be my lamentation. The real lamentation is, I don't know when my death will come, but still my consciousness is not prepared to face death, the ultimate exam. Therefore, I often say to my students, that life is the art of dying. One has to prepare for that final exam. So, what Krishna said to Arjuna, the same thing I'll tell you. Don't lament. Focus on the eternality of the soul. Read the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad-gita. That's a practical suggestion. Please do not lament. Life goes on. The relatives which you had in this life, they are there somewhere else, getting the warmth and affection of some other relationships right now, in some other body, in some other species, or maybe in the same species, who knows? So life goes on. The journey of the spirit soul is continuing. However, if you become Krishna conscious right now, and if you chant Hare Krishna, and if you read the Bhagavad-gita, and if you associate with the devotees, then by the strength of your sadhana, by the strength of your spiritual process, they will get benefit. Coming to your first question, why a good person like him suffer? When I'm saying that everybody has to die, where is the question of saying that he has to suffer? You and me, both of us are destined to suffer at the time of death. Have you ever seen a person who has not suffered with diseases, with old age, with death? All of us will do that. Now a question comes, why a good person like him suffered? See, for the laws of material nature, there is no such thing as good and bad. Death is always, only a person who is Krishna conscious will not suffer at the time of death. Because he has understood that he is not this body, he is the spirit soul. So even at the time of death, their consciousness will be on a transcendental platform. And unless and until a person comes to this consciousness, understanding that I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm the spirit soul, an eternal part and parcel of Krishna, everybody is going to suffer at the time of death, whether good or bad. In fact, strictly speaking, a good person is only that person who has understood this Atma Tattva, who has got this understanding of who they are, why do they exist, and what is the purpose of life. Otherwise, every other normal person has to go through a lot of suffering at the time of death. Second question, I'm in guilt why I was not able to save him as I had survived from COVID. See, death and life is not in your hands. There is something called as destiny. The Srimad Bhagavatam says that the number of breaths which we take, this is called one breath. The number of breaths which we take is already destined, already decided. The time of birth and the time of death is not something which is random. Please don't think that it was in your hands or you could do something about it. Of course, as a wife, you could have done your duty, but when the time comes, the time comes. That is a cruel, that is the right way, not the cruel way. That is the right way of Krishna to remind us, Mrityu sarva haras chaham. A materialist thinks that the purpose of life is to develop the life economically, be very happy with friends and relatives and bandhu and bandhava, very nicely eating, sleeping, mating and defending, but death comes and takes away everything. Just to remind that you are leading a false conception of life. The reality is that you are a spirit soul and you are meant to render devotional service to God, to Krishna. And if you are not doing that, Mrityu sarva haras chaham. Whether you are the most beautiful, most rich, most intelligent, whatever it is, everything will be taken away at the time of death. But if you are a devotee of God, if you are a devotee of Krishna, whatever devotional service which you have rendered, please understand, if you are a PhD in this life, next life again you have to start from nursery. But whatever devotional service which you have rendered, that no one can snatch away. That will eternally remain. So death comes to make us realize whether you are a Michael Jackson or whether you are Alexander the Great, nothing will remain with you. So better, bhaj govindam, bhaj govindam, bhaj govindam, moodhamate. Oh idiot, chant the names of Govinda. That is the only spiritual asset which will continue with you lifetime after lifetime. Rest, everything will be taken away. All the day this body ends, the so-called relationships also end. This is the way in which Krishna is making us realize how wrongly we are leading our life, thinking that I'm someone's father, someone's mother, someone's brother, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a cat or a dog, Indian, Australian, German. Our only identity is Jiveru Saruphay Krishna Nitya Das. The eternal constitutional position of a living entity is that it is an eternal servant of Krishna. Unless one comes to this understanding, life after life, they will have to go through the trauma of death and they have to go through the trauma of entering another mother's womb also. That is the reality. And I don't want to present this in a very sweet-coated way. This is the reality. If you read the second chapter of Bhagavad-gita, it will become clear to you. And your last question is, your second last question is, I had prayed to Krishna to help me. Now I'm angry why he did not come to save me, as my husband was a very good person. Mataji. As I said, the time of death is already predestined. Our brains are very tiny. We do not understand what is good and what is bad for us. Like Arjuna Vishad Yoga, chapter 1. He was thinking that whatever he is proposing is good for him. But in chapter 2, Krishna smashes all his opinions and tells him the reality. That look, my dear idiot Arjuna, you were thinking and giving great reasons what is good, what is bad. But you're talking like a wise man, but actually you're an idiot. So similarly, we have many notions that why did Krishna didn't save? First of all, we do not even understand what is the meaning of saving. The real saving is, see, if a person is drowning somewhere, and if I just go and take out the shirt of that person and leave the person to drown, is that saving called saving? Answer is no. Similarly, real saving means save the spirit soul, not the body simply. If someone is drowning, if I take the shirt and I say I have saved him, that is not saving. The person is drowning. Similarly, real saving means to save the spirit soul from the cycle of birth and death so that they do not take another birth. That is called real saving. Krishna, if he is really merciful on someone, he gives them his remembrance at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam त्यजत्य अन्ते कलेवरम तम तम एवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भाव भावितः. whatever thought process one has at the time of death, one attains a body in the next life corresponding to that thought. So if I'm thinking of my wife at the time of death, in the next life, I'm going to become a woman. If I'm thinking of if I'm attached to my property and I'm so much worried at the time of death that this person will cheat me, that person will take away, how they will handle, then I'm going to become a snake in my same property and my own sons and children will kill me. Yam yam vapi smaran bhav. So real saving, Krishna saves his devotees by giving him his remembrance at the time of death. So if at the time of death, if I think of the name, form, qualities and pastimes of Krishna, then I'm going to Krishna Loka. That is called real saving. Saving the shirt or saving the body is not real saving. Real saving means saving the spirit soul from the cycle of birth and death. So for that, all of us need to practice devotional service. It is not easy. Suppose you are walking down and you fall down the stairs. What is the probability that at that time when your head is bleeding and your knees are fractured, will you remember Krishna at that time? No. May not be. Maybe, may not be. So imagine how much pain one goes through at the time of death. So one needs to practice for an entire lifetime. That is called sadhana. So even the greatest devotees of Krishna have died. But Krishna saved them by giving his remembrance to them. Krishna is not interested in this kachara body, earth, water, fire, air, ether. This has no place in the spiritual world. We need to have a spiritual body to associate with Satchidananda Krishna. We need to have a Satchidananda body to associate with Satchidananda Bhagavan. This is kachara. This is kachara. This has no value for spiritualists. Of course, one needs to take care of this body so that they can progress in their Krishna consciousness. But ultimately, body is not the summum bonum. So real saving doesn't mean that save the body. Real saving means save the spirit soul. So don't lament in that way. And don't be angry with Krishna. Because Krishna's judgment, you know only this life of your husband. But Krishna knows past 100 lives of your husband and future 100 lives of your husband. Krishna knows your past 100 lives also and your future lives also. He is omniscient and he is in a better position to take decisions. I, with my tiny brain, may not be able to understand and may demand, give me, give me, give me. But Krishna knows what is good for me and what is bad for me. So whether it is reward from Krishna, that is also his mercy. Punishment from Krishna, that is also his mercy. Because Krishna is our best well-wisher. I have a different mother, different father, different husband, different XYZ in every lifetime. Everything keeps changing in every life only. But Krishna is that constant person. And he is our best well-wisher. Suhridam sarva bhutanam. Not only yours, but everybody's best well-wisher is only Krishna. One has to come to this understanding first. Then only they'll be able to understand and grow through the pains and pleasures of life. Last question. I was under assurance that nothing wrong will happen as Krishna is there with me. Yes, Krishna is there with you. He was at that time also. Now also he's there with you. With your husband, he was there. And now wherever the spirit soul of your husband, Krishna is there as Paramatma with all of us, with everybody at all the time. So that assurance which is given that Krishna is there with you is correct. But we should not force Krishna to do what we want to do. Because we don't know what is good or bad for us. A small child wants to go and play in the rain. And when the father stops, he thinks that my father is my worst enemy and he becomes angry with his father. But that doesn't mean that the father will change his decision. So similarly, our understanding is very limited to one lifetime. But Krishna is omniscient Bhagwan. And he is seeing our journey as a series of lifetimes. So he's in the best situation to decide what is good for us, what is bad for us. A devotee of Krishna surrenders to Krishna. That whatever you want, you give me. Nobody can be more worried about me. Nobody can love me more unconditionally and unmotivatedly. Nobody is my better well-wisher than you, Krishna. I surrender to you. Maro bhi rakho bhi jo ichha tumhar. Whatever you want, you do with him. This is called Krishna consciousness. And that is the only way in which one can lead a life without becoming an sinner or an atheist. I hope, Shravani Pokale, Mataji, I hope you have got some ideas with this discussion. Thank you very much. If your questions are answered, I know it's very difficult to answer those questions, but this is the only thing which we can offer. We will recommend, please read the second chapter of Bhagavad-gita, be regular to these sessions, and chant Hare Krishna. And Krishna will certainly take care. He has been taking care, and he will take care in future. Krishna gives us what we need, not what we want. I repeat, Krishna carries to us what we need, and he protects what we have, but does not necessarily give us what we want, because we want those things which may not be good for us. Okay, Shravani Pokale Mataji, do I have your permission to go to the next question? If yes, can you please lower your hand to confirm? Thank you. Okay, next question. This is by Sushma Razdan Tyagi. Are you there? Sushma Razdan Tyagi, you're not there? Okay, we'll skip your question. You can ask us personally. Again, Reva Maheshwari has another question. I think we already took one question from Reva Maheshwari. We'll give others a chance. If God is there, how can we feel that? Nanda Sengupta, are you there? Nanda Sengupta? Okay, you're not there. Next question by Shankarnath Pabisetti. Are you there, Shankarnath Pabisetti? Yes, you're there. Can you please raise your hand to confirm if you're there or not? Yes, so we'll take your question. Sometimes people log into the session, but they do other activities. So just to ensure I keep this protocol. I'm always afraid of what is going to happen, and I'm always in a melancholic mood. I think your question is that you're always afraid what is going to happen, and you're always sad, and you want to get rid of this situation. Is that your question? If it is your question, can you give a thumbs up to make me understand it? Yes, that was your question. Yes. So yes, why are we afraid? Because we are not Krishna conscious. If somebody understands that they are not this body, they are the spirit soul, and they are eternal, then they will not be afraid. Just like a small child. He may be playing in the playground, and there may be other big children trying to bully him, hit him. He'll be very afraid. But if the child sees that his father is there in the playground, then he'll be very brave. He can go and hit the strongest child and then not be worried about anything, simply take shelter of his father, because he knows his father is there, he'll protect him. Similarly, if we take shelter of Krishna, and if we understand that who is Krishna, if we understand the greatness of Krishna, and if we understand the sweetness of Krishna, then we will never be afraid of anything. We have to understand the greatness of Krishna, we have to understand the sweetness of Krishna, and we have to be fully convinced that Krishna is our best well-wisher. And he is not going to let me down. My own mind has let me down. My own thought processes have let me down. My own people have let me down. But Krishna, he is Bhaktavatsala. That's why he's called as Acyuta. One who never fails to reciprocate with his devotees in the right way. One who never fails to take care of his devotees in the appropriate way is called as Acyuta. One who is always very affectionate to his devotees. For that, we have to first become devotees of Krishna. So that is why, if one has the knowledge of the greatness of Krishna, the knowledge of the sweetness of Krishna, and the full convinced understanding that he is my best well-wisher, by the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra and by the reading of Bhagavad-gita in the association of those devotees who are fully convinced about the purpose of life. Until unless we have these jewels with us, we'll always be afraid. We'll always be afraid. We'll be afraid of old age. We'll be afraid of death. We'll be afraid of diseases. Until unless we come to the spiritual platform, fear will always be there. However, when I see around myself and when I see that everything is either Krishna or an energy of Krishna, then I'll not be afraid. Even if somebody is coming with a knife to kill me, please consider, even if somebody is coming with a knife to kill me, I should think that Krishna is there as the Paramatma in my heart, and he's there as Paramatma in his heart also. And without the sanction of Krishna, not even a blade of grass moves. So if Krishna has sanctioned him to come and kill me, and if Krishna is my best well-wisher, then I surrender. Maro bhi rakho bhi jo iksha tumar. So Krishna is my best well-wisher, and whatever he'll do with me, that is the best thing which can happen to me. So why should I be afraid of anything? I should just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and render devotional service to him. That is my duty. I have to do my duty without any expectations. If I'm in this consciousness, if I'm Krishna conscious, then I will never be afraid. I hope this answers your question, Pabi Setti Shankarnath. If it does, can you please lower your hand to confirm? Okay. Next question is again by Pallavi Maiti. I think we have already taken a question from Pallab Maiti. So many questions from Pallab. So we will go to the next question now. Vandana HS, are you there, Vandana? Vandana? I think we should tell very clearly that you can't just ask question and disappear. You have to be there. Brinda Pradhan, are you there? Brinda Pradhan. Yes, you have raised your hand. Your question is how to control anger and how to gain confidence. We have to take inspiration from what is said in the scriptures about anger. Anger, many people have a misconception that anger is very bad. Even Lord Narasimhadev became angry and he killed Hiranyakashipu. So anger is an emotion which is seen in God also. Many people tell me also, you are a monk, you are a saint, you should never become angry. But I scold at least 2 people a day. Because it is my job. If I don't correct them, then who else will? So the equation of anger is, when somebody is insulting me, I will tolerate. When somebody is hurting me, I will tolerate. When somebody is stepping over my false ego, I will try to tolerate. I will tolerate. I should tolerate. However, if somebody is insulting Krishna or the devotees of Krishna, I will become as angry as fire. And this is the only way to control anger. The best example is Hanuman. He went through so many ups and downs and political situations, and so many people insulted him also, and he had to hear so many absurd things, but he just tolerated. But when he went to Lanka, he saw the name of Lord Ram being blasphemed, and Mother Sita, the devotee of Lord Ram, wife of Lord Ram, being blasphemed, insulted. He became so angry that he burnt the whole Lanka. So that is the way to control anger. When it is coming to me, I will tolerate. But when somebody is blaspheming, insulting Krishna or the devotees of Krishna, it is my job to become angry. So in that way, one can control anger. Now the question is, This is very difficult. How to do this? So the only way to control anger, there's a very nice verse in the Shikshashtakam. It says, Tranadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadaharihi. So we are recommending everybody should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But do you know what is the qualification for this? I'm not making anybody afraid, but yes, that is the outcome finally. Only that person who is more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, ready to offer all respect to others without expecting any respect for themselves, only such a person can truly and humbly chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That is why even the Bible says that only the meek and humble inherit the kingdom of God. So the culture of the spiritual world, or the culture of Dham of Krishna, is that everybody is more tolerant than a tree, more humble than a grass, and nobody expects any self-respect from anybody. But they are ready to offer all respect to others. Kirtaniya sadaharihi. So, one has to become angry when the devotees of Krishna or Krishna are being offended. But when I am being offended, one has to try their best to control. It takes practice. It takes mercy. It's not easy. I accept it. It's not easy. But if one can chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra very sincerely every day and hear their own chanting very nicely, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, then the spiritual strength from within comes to let go. When somebody provokes me, I get the spiritual strength to not react to it. Because I'm in love with something much higher, much more sublime. I don't have time to waste my energy to respond to that person in that way. I'm relishing something higher within. So in this way, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna will help you and help all of us in overcoming anger. By knowing when to use it and when not to use it. Please try to understand anger is an emotion which is there in the spirit soul. It cannot be nullified. Those who try to do this, they are less intelligent. That's all I have to say. Your next question is how to gain confidence. Read the Bhagavad-gita. Confidence comes from knowledge. Right now, you may see that I'm speaking a little confidently. Why? Because I understand what it is and what I am speaking. I'm chanting Hare Krishna. I'm reading the Bhagavad-gita. So I have confidence. One who understands the Bhagavad-gita, there's nothing much left for them to understand after that. Similarly, there are other scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. If you have read Srimad Bhagavatam, there is nothing else needed for you to know also in the entire creation. So that gives confidence. Another way to get confidence is to know that yes, Krishna is there and he's my best well-wisher. In this way, knowledge gives rise to confidence. Okay. I hope this answers your question, Brinda Pradhan. If it does, can you please lower your hand to confirm? Okay, good. Next question. We'll end the session in the next 10 minutes, please. How to practice reciting the Gita? By practicing to recite the Gita, you can practice to recite the Gita. That's my answer. I mean, you have to hear from the senior devotees like Dakshayani Mataji, she recited. So you have to hear that. We can also share some audio links with you where senior devotees have recited it. Try to hear it again and again and try to recite it. But I have a piece of advice for you. Don't be mad behind the recitation of Gita. By the way, I did not check whether you are here or not. Mamta, are you here? Mamta? Yeah, Mamta Mohan is here. Is this your question, Mamta Mohan? If yes, can you please raise your hand to confirm? Mamta Mohan, this is not your question. Okay, I just started answering, so I'll just complete it. So, don't be mad behind just recitation. It is powerful. Some people are very confident, oh, I can recite the Bhagavad-gita in just 45 minutes. Our question to them is, can you live the Bhagavad-gita for 45 minutes? Recitation is important. These are the words of Krishna. It's very, very powerful to recite. But however, more important is to understand what is there in that recitation. Simply by doing Gita Parayan, without understanding what is there in that Parayan, you cannot attain the ultimate goal of life. Rather, I will recommend first try to understand, and then if you have time, then you do Gita Parayan. First, understand the Bhagavad Gita, live it, implement it, and then think of Parayan in various beautiful, melodious meters. Aarti Venkatesh, are you there here? Aarti? Aarti Venkatesh. Okay, you're not here. Namita Nayak is raising her hand, but first we'll finish the questions. So we have one last question to go, raised by Vicky. Vicky, are you here? Vicky is also not here. Good. Okay, so we have ended our questions. Many of them who asked very nice questions, but unfortunately they are not here. We will try to send them the answers personally, provided they have approached us to ask those questions again. The reason why we take this approach is because we want people to be sincere. If you have a question, please be sincere enough to come to the session and ask it and get the answer. Don't be very casual. I just got a form, I filled the form and I asked the question and I don't care whether you have answered it or not. So in case, if due to some critical circumstances, you're not able to attend the session, please get back to us that yes, my question is critical and I'm critically looking for the answer. So please allow me to ask it. Then we'll answer it. Because it's our experience that when people are not very eager to receive the answers, we just waste our time trying to answer them. Okay, next question can be taken by Swati Avanani. Can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? If you can also turn on your video, it will be more personal. We can look at the students who have come for the session. Okay, Swati Avanani.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Can you please ask a question?
Yeah, my question is, I am a software engineer by profession, and I just try to be.
Where do you stay?
Bangalore.
Very good.
Clearly, yeah. I always try to be very open from learning from anyone, and I'm always try to be humble as much as I can. But what happens, if anything is going on, people will start shouting, or maybe people will start getting rude to me, but I don't want to do the same thing to them. And then in the end, I start thinking, means that is also by the influence of others, that I am humble, or I am a weak personality, but I don't want to, if anybody is wrong also, I just want to explain them, we can do it in a better way, but I don't want to put bad words to anyone. I don't want to be. So am I weak by being humble, or am I stupid, or what I am? But I don't want to change myself. I feel
Okay.
like that.
Okay, if I have got your question is humility causing me my self-esteem? Is that your question in simple words? Is that your question? Okay. What is the meaning of humility? Humility doesn't mean that you simply fold your hand and stand like this in front of everybody and let everybody do whatever they want. Arjuna, when he became humble, he killed 6.4 crore people in the battlefield. That is humility. To speak boldly, to repeat boldly the message of Bhagavad-gita and the message of Krishna, going through all odds, is humility. Basically, the meaning of humility, when I was speaking humility, the meaning I meant was not being anxious to have the satisfaction of getting praise and honor from others. I was referring to that aspect of humility. So not expecting praise and honors and not having that happiness of getting praise and honors from others. I was referring to that aspect of humility. When I said we have to be humble, means amanina manadena kirtanya sataha. I don't expect any honor from others, but I will give all respect to others. However, if people see, one thing I have to understand, what are the things and who are the people whom I allow to affect me? That is another aspect of humility. Do I allow anyone and everyone to affect me? Or do I allow only those things which are important to me to affect me? For example, for me, chanting my rounds of Hare Krishna is very important. For me, reading the Bhagavad-gita is very important. It doesn't matter who comes and tells me what, above and beyond this. So I have to understand what are the important things in my life. That which is important, we keep account of it. If I am keeping account of how many people have insulted me throughout the day, that means my false ego is more important to me. I have to work about it. Do something about it. And the only way to overcome this false ego is to act intelligently. What does it mean to act intelligently? For example, if you are facing these issues in your workplace, you have to learn to be professional. If these things are happening at your home, then you have to learn to ignore and tolerate. Tolerance has to be there at all places, whether in corporate or in... Now, tolerance doesn't mean you're weak. Only the greatest hero can tolerate, by the way. Let the world think whatever they can. The problem is that we are so much affected by what others are thinking that it is causing so much misery to us only. By the way, the world doesn't have so much time to think about us. We are just artificially thinking, oh, he said this to me, oh, she said this to me. Now she must be thinking like this about me. Now he must be thinking. So much kachara is there in our mind. The Bhagavad-gita should be there in our mind. You know, the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra should be there in my mind. Things which I like to do should be there in my mind. How does it bother if someone is speaking something? See, people will always speak something. How many people can you control? Even when Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was personally present, people were speaking ill about him. So who are you and me? We have to learn to not be affected. And that is only possible when we have a higher goal in life. When we understand that these things are not very important. I have a higher, sublime, transcendental goal in my life, and I'm looking up towards it. For example, if somebody has a goal to climb a mountain and they're constantly looking up and they're climbing, if some ants are biting them, will they stop or will they give up their mountain climbing? No, because they have something higher to achieve. So I have to achieve Krishna. How does it matter these things are happening here and there? You read the Srimad Bhagavatam and read the lifetime of or the life history of various devotees of Krishna. They all went through huge degree of reversals. Take the example of Pandavas. Take the example of Draupadi. She was disrobed. What can be a bigger insult than that? But she ignored and continued her life. Why? Because her goal was to attain the mercy of Krishna. She was a devotee of Krishna. And that piteous call which she made to Krishna at that time is the topic of discussion in the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna tells that every time when I remember that piteous call of Draupadi, I feel I am indebted to her. And the more I remember it, the more indebtedness I feel to her. That is the nature of Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So why not spend more time about him, thinking about his name, form, qualities, and pastimes, rather than thinking about what this stupid world is doing to me. And by the way, whatever happens to us, it is our karma. It comes back to us. If I respond or react in a stupid way, I only increase my karma. In most of the situations, the best thing is to tolerate and get rid of that karmic reaction. But of course, don't do that at the cost of... In my personal experiences, I have never felt that if there is a situation where I have tolerated it, then I have become a loser. However, one has to, in some circumstances, you have to explain yourself. But most of the times, the people who are behind you like this, even if you give them so many explanations, they'll not understand. So better save your energy. To summarize, the answer is only a hero can tolerate. One needs to know when to speak up. But at the same time, one should understand that nothing is lost or gained by winning or losing a conversation. One should not be affected by anything and everything. One should work on their own false ego also. And one should have a higher goal in life. When they have a higher goal, see, this question has come up because certainly these things are affecting us. But suppose if we are in a situation where these things don't affect us, then how does it matter who is saying what? So that is the best way to stay. We have to stay in this world like a lotus flower. We are surrounded by dirt and water, but the lotus never becomes dirty or wet. So we have to be in this world, but not of this world, by reading the Bhagavad-gita and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. More intelligence Krishna will only give you, as in when you progress in your journey of Krishna consciousness. I hope this answers your question, Swati Avnani. If it does, can you please lower your hand and, if possible, yeah. Okay, I will take one last question and then we'll end the session. So I see Kumar Vail and Sunny Tanna. Okay, Kumar Vail, since you've switched on your video first, you get the first opportunity. Can you please ask your question, Kumar Vail? You have to unmute yourself first.
Unmute? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Radhe Radhe.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My question is related to today's Ekadashi. So in Vamana Avatara, Sri Krishna tells Yudhishthira that after sending Bali Chakravarti to Patal Lok,
in Vamana Avatara, Krishna is telling Yudhishthira.
No, today in that ISKCON temple that they have sent the fasting Ekadashi story, they have mentioned it, right?
Ekadashi Mahatmya, you mean? Okay.
Yeah. So he says that after sending Bali Chakravarti to Patal Lok,
Sutala Lok, not Patal.
Sutala Lok, and Krishna also says that because of his humbleness, he promised that Bali Chakra that he'll be residing in his palace permanently. So he means to say that he is residing in Sutal Lok. Krishna is residing in Sutal Lok.
Yes. Why is it so difficult to understand?
No, this is the first time I'm hearing it because
Krishna is right now in this room also, in the Sutala Lok also, in Golok Vrindavan also. He is everywhere. He is there in the smallest atom also. So why should we be surprised? Krishna has unlimited expansions and he is expanded as Vamanadev and he is residing at the doorstep of Bali Maharaj to show how affectionate he is to his devotees. Bali Maharaj is an epitome of Atma Samarpan, Atma Nivedan, and Krishna is reciprocating with his devotee like that. Even the greatest demigods like Brahma and Shiva, they cannot constantly see Hari all the time. But Bali Maharaj is able to see Krishna in the form of Vamanadev every moment. Not everybody is able to see Vamanadev. But specifically, Bali Maharaj is able to see him at his doorstep all the moment. So there is a verse in Brahma Samhita. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santah sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram gunam achintya swarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. It is said that those who have anointed their eyes with the ointment of love of devotional service, they are saints, they are sadhus. And such saintly people, they constantly see Krishna in the spiritual television of their heart. So Bali Maharaj is that level of personality. He is a sadhu. Santah sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. He is constantly seeing Krishna. And Krishna is completely free to do whatever he wants. He can be in Sutal Lok as well as anywhere else.
So
does this answer your question?
Yeah, this was just a reference for me. Like They used to say that Krishna has to reside in Bhulok and Devalok, but here
Krishna personally resides in Golok, Golok Vrindavan, which is the highest spiritual planet above Vaikuntha also.
Hare Krishna.
But he has various expansions. And with his expansions and expansions of expansions and expansions of expansions of expansions, he is prevalent everywhere. So this is the inconceivable nature of the Lord. He is everywhere, yet he is there in Goloka. Golok eva nivasatya khilatma bhuto. He is there everywhere. But in one way, he is only there in Goloka. So this is the inconceivable nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Marvel.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so we would like to stop. Sunny Tanna is also waiting. Okay, I will take your question, and this is the last question. Add spotlight. You can please unmute yourself. Sunny, yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Did you also ask a question in the Gita course?
Yes, Prabhuji, last time.
Yeah, I remember you. Please go ahead.
Prabhuji, there are two questions actually. Prabhuji,
No, only one we can take. It's getting late.
Okay.
Ask the one which is more relevant and more important. Other one you can ask through WhatsApp.
Okay. Prabhuji, after knowing that all is temporary, how can we overcome greed for anything like money, and how can we constantly keep the how can we keep all the lessons that we have learned constantly in our mind?
You asked both the questions. Huh? Ultimately, you asked both the questions. Okay, first question is how to control greed. And second question is how to remember the teachings of Bhagavad-gita all the time. Is this my understanding correct? Okay. How to control greed. Krishna says that there are three gates to hell: lust, anger, and greed. And any sane man should control them. So greed means to enjoy separate from Krishna, away from Krishna. However, if I see that, okay, I'm greedy for money, let me spiritualize my earning by giving it to Krishna, or let's start with some share. Okay, and right now 99% is there for my wife. 1% I will give for Krishna. Let me begin like that. Slowly I'll make it 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. One day I can give 50% also. So by slowly using those things for which we are greedy in the service of Krishna, suppose if I'm greedy for something, and if I start using that thing in the service of Krishna, then slowly my heart will get purified. And I will get rid of those attachments to those things. So basically, I'll be able to overcome my greed. In a sense, I have to transform my material greed to spiritual greed. I have to replace this greed for name, fame, money, etc. with the greed to hear more Krishna Katha. Krishna says, or it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Pravishta Karna Randhrena Swanam Bhava Saroham Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasya Yathashat. When we hear Krishna Katha, then all the lust, greed, anger, illusion, enviousness, attachments from our heart is washed off. So one simple way to control greed is, of course, I will do some steps. Now I'm greedy for money. I'll use my Lakshmi in the service of Krishna. Ultimately, Lakshmi is meant for Narayan, not for me. So when I use that, I will lose my attachment and greed slowly. But however, a fast track way of reducing greed is to hear more Krishna Katha. Then all, not just greed, but lust, greed, anger, and illusion, everything will leave us. Okay. And your second question was how to remember the teachings of Bhagavad-gita all the time. We have to be in the association of those people who are practicing the Bhagavad-gita very sincerely. And when we see them, when we stay with them, then automatically we become like them. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks a lot for these great sessions.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Okay, so we end today's session. Thank you very much for your enthusiastic participation. See you on this Sunday. Same time, 6:30 p.m. as we started on last Sunday. And we'll have a beautiful session which is called as Patch-up Solutions or Perfect Solutions. Till then, please chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram.